Hello my friends and welcome to my channel. I'm Katie in the Nest and I'm not quite home in my nest, but I'm getting a lot closer. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It is Saturday, it's a weekend, and as always I'm hoping that you are well and that you've got something to stitch along with as I share what I'm up to. So I'm just finished yesterday, nearly. I just finished my set of workshops in Adelaide, and I have to say thank you to Adelaide for being so warmly welcoming to me, and it was just a thrill. I was in the actual home studio of Gabriella, who is Miss Rose's sister Violet, and so she was so generous, and we were blessed to use many of her textiles that I had purchased and had already been using, and it was possible for the ladies to buy some more to supplement. So this piece has actually only one thing on it that is not, oh no, there's two things that are not fabrics of Miss Rose's sister Violet. And underneath it, because I'm on a glary desk here, I actually have one of my favorite jackets still from that brand that I am embellishing. So I wear it and stitch along as I travel. Okay, so this, I think I quickly showed you this piece the other night, and I've been working on it since, and I just thought, let's stitch along and be in the garden. If you're new, welcome. If you have been, as I always say, with me for a while, whether that's from the very beginning or just recently, I hope you feel that you can find some joy. I love the colour. I can't help myself. I never intend to break rules, but it does appear that sometimes I'm doing things that people go, oh, how are you doing that? So I have a thread already here because I have been stitching on the plane. I flew Adelaide, Canberra. It was, it still is a beautiful sunny day, blue skies, not a single bump. So that seems very easy in terms of getting around. And how blessed, I keep saying it, how grateful am I that I get to do this, to fly around, stitch while I'm on the plane, and then as I did the other day, meet like minds. That's what we we just keep saying. It's reassuring, and I want to do a special shout out to Vanessa, and I call her Vanessa, who is a local to Adelaide, and she started following. I might have said this the other day, but I don't care if I'm repeating it, Vanessa, because you are that special. Began following me when I was doing junk journals, and is still with me. And this is the first work we had done a workshop together, but this was the first workshop of mine that she had come along to. And why I'm telling this story is she gave me a whole lot of things, and you'll see more of those to come. But I am feeling like I've told you this before, but the point of this little story is she said, isn't it, she gave a big sigh at one point and said, isn't it reassuring to come to a workshop and realize that other people think like you do and love doing the things that you do? So that's what we're doing here virtually, but it's also lovely to do it in real life. So thank you, and I hope that those of you who are watching get that same sense of being connected through the screen, whether it's a big one or a small one. I was just thinking then that as I was on the plane, I saw the man in front of me was reading a whole book on his phone, but he'd enlarged it to really big print. I thought, oh, I hadn't thought of that, but my eyes are just maybe needing that more and more. Okay, So now that I've finished that thread, let me show you what I'm doing. I am doing my usual, and I have to say I was bereft of my scissors on a plane, so there's lots of things just hanging out because I couldn't get close enough with my thread cutter. So it is one flower at a time, and it's flower to flower, and you will recognize some of these blooms before. I'm thinking that this one will be the flower that is most colored in, if you like. I'm going to leave these whites, and I'm working gradually through these colors. This one is a new one. Can you see this? Yeah. This is a new one for me because it's actually a green flower in the middle. And so that's posing lots of thought bubbles. But I hope you can see that I'm just gradually putting little bits around it. Those daisies we've seen. And when I say bumblebee, I mean it. I just flip from one flower to another so I don't get bored. Here I used up the fluoro over here, so this flower needs some love. But what I wanted to show you, I should have fixed this little knot up before, so don't look if you... Okay, I've discovered that French knots are the thing to do on a plane. So I do some stitching and then come back over here and do some French knots. So this is, I've used this particular pattern fabric before, but I'm just loving seeing it covered with French knots. So why don't we do some of that, because I wanted to show you the have I got it in my nest now? I took this whole nest on the plane. Yeah, I was just foraging in my nest and found that I had this one, which you don't usually see me use because it's basically white, and it has some blue in it. But because of this garden and the bit of green, I'm experimenting with having a tiny little bit of blue. But as I say that, I'm thinking that's probably enough. So let's do a different color. Let's do some gold ones. Ooh, there's the needle. Just checking I'm filming. I'm so out of practice. And I've missed you. That's what happens. I've been having a wonderful time, and but you know, filming is part of me chatting with you, my friends. Okay, I was going to do French knots, but now I don't want to do French knots. I want to get this little wriggly bit. This flower used to have a basket, but I've just cut it off. So if you saw the other night, you'll go, what's happened to that whole arrangement? I've decided that it's not an arrangement, and that I want to bring these down onto maybe that leaf or more flowers. So I'm just doing that there I was explaining to the ladies that I often I like to blend one fabric to the one underneath it with stitches so that you can't actually, your eye can't distinguish where the petal was of the first one into the second. And because this sort of work ends up being like it's a garden, so it's not single flowers, even though we do one flower at a time, we're building an entire garden. And in my case, the gardens are quite wild. The lovely ladies were so beautifully skilled, and so if you want to see what we made together, I'll do more. I've got a few photos on Instagram. what I like to do is make a visual diary, and I show that in my newsletter. So I know many of you have already subscribed to my newsletter, but if you want to see pictures of what others make when they come along to my workshop, that's probably the best sort. I'm not like, it's only because I can't. I'm not able to do two things at once, so that when I'm teaching and I can't, I forget, but I'm not good at videoing it, holding my hand, holding the phone in one hand. I think I tried that once last year, and I think I made you all ill by how shaky my hand was. So I just know that that's not something I can do. So I have to do it after the event in the form of photos. And what I love doing is with a 3-day workshop, I like putting all the gardens together and having a shot, taking a photo of them all put together, because even though everyone goes in a different direction, the garden looks beautiful together. That old saying, we're the sum of all of us. I can't remember what it is. So what are you guys up to? Is it a busy weekend? Lots on? It's the end of the New South Wales school holidays, I know. So I've seen lots of young people on the plane today with their families, and that's always lovely to see. Reminds me of when we used to travel with our little ones, who now can do it themselves. Okay, so I didn't do a lot of French knots, but there's some in there. And look at that beautiful, this is pearl thread in the gold. I think this is eleganza from Suspargo, and I think it's just the best. But I couldn't find any more of that to buy. All right, let's have a talk about this lonely old flower here. Let's pick up this golden yellow of mine. So I think I've got 9 days at home before I start my big adventure. Thank you so much for your kind wishes already. I forget sometimes how many of you know about what I'm up to and care. So thank you. It really just makes my day. And so I just appreciate it, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to ever sound too gushy, but I'm never going to apologize for being thankful and grateful too much and saying it, because talking to you has got me through hard times and to this life. So I want to be an example that, clouds pass. And I've said it before, my favourite saying at the moment is even clouds run out of rain. So let's have a think about it. Even clouds. Or is it storms? Even storms, I think, maybe. See? I can't even quote correctly. But it's a sentiment, meaning I never ever, I won't cry, because I cried yesterday. Getting to be a crybaby at the end of workshops. And it's because my heart is so close to my, what did I say, on my sleeve, that I just get overcome of the beauty that happens. And I'm not talking about the visual beauty, the beauty that happens when women come together and spend time. And women don't know each other from, we had 3 or 4 different states around the table. And there we were, laughing and chatting, and by day 3, just, yeah, the best of times, well, all of times, but we didn't want to leave each other. So, yeah. Can't remember where I started with that sentence. So, sorry if I was leading somewhere and now I haven't. Let's go around this beautiful flower. You can see I've got fluoro in already. That wasn't, you know, it wasn't particularly planned, but I use fluoro in little tiny bursts. And then it always sort of either calms down or picks up. So here I'll just go over the top of it. Then we'll come around the corner. So I'm going to have more thread than I need in this yellow, and this is something I showed the ladies, that even though I could pull it out, sometimes I do, but in this case, oh, I've split my thread, which is not what I wanted to do. I'll just go for a little meander somewhere else. That won't make much sense right now, but in the big picture, it'll just be a little bit more texture. And it's sort of what I'm calling the, what is it? This, no, it's not split back, a separated back stitch. We're up here to the joining of these two flowers, so we'll just add that in. Totally freeform and organic. But when you look from a distance, it doesn't look like that is out of place, even though there was no other yellow on that flower. So sort of just be brave. I think by the more you do it, the braver you get. And of course you don't have to be wild. You can just stick with what you enjoy doing. Okay, so we've used some gold, we've used some yellow, we haven't used any pink. I just saw my fluoro pink then. Do we want to add, yes. Will we add a little bit in? What about in there? I need to spend some time with my threads. They've been hard at work this week. Let's just do a little bit. We did have a few giggles about how easy it became to lose our needles, and at one stage Anne, who was sitting beside me, who travelled all the way from Bendigo with her sister Marie, said, Kate, I think there's a magnet in the floor, because her scissors kept falling off and going onto the floor. So we had a laugh, and I said, well, you need your scissors, but any threads or anything that falls, let's just keep them down there. and it's forms sort of a carpet. Okay, now I said I was going to do the inside of that and I completely forgot. So we've got a few stitches in the fluoro, and now we're going to again go to my favorite little stitch and do some little bits over here. And let's use the fluoro to cover that black. So we've ended up with fluoro orange and fluoro pink. And this is a case where I've got still some thread. So let's come over here. I am going to knot it. And let's just colour in the centre of the flowers. Now I often get asked, where do I start in a flower? Sometimes I start in the centre, sometimes I start at the outside, and all I'm telling you that for is it doesn't really matter. You might have favourite bits. I just go to here and say, okay, which bit next? And so I still haven't done much on this, but this flower here is calling my name. So let's finish that thread and have, I've been using this variegated pearl that's quite thin there. So now I'm going to colour the rest in with something thicker like this. Although I did notch it on the plane. Oh, here we go. Oh, if I can just find a length. There we go. It's not a long one. So the big thing that I wanted to tell you was that I forgot to take my July Jingles pouch to Adelaide. So those of you who've been waiting for me to be stitching along with, I do have to apologise. I wouldn't have had time to film it anyway, but I haven't been working on it. So I just have to wait till I get home. So I think you could expect that video on Wednesday. I have seen someone on the Kin Facebook group who's, I think, finished theirs, so it looks absolutely wonderful. So please don't think you have to wait for me, but I will be sharing that. What are we sort of moving towards the end of July, but we've still got time. I'm very excited about getting home to my nest and picking up some projects, but I do have a new project that has been inspired by Vanessa and something she helped teach me, so I'm going to be sharing that probably tomorrow night. So nothing like starting a new project. Yes, I'm just coming around this flower. You can see the wool helps, you know, just the thickness of the wool helps fill it in. more quickly. Oh, excuse me. You would have seen me packing this morning. I had my large suitcase, my smaller suitcase, the tote of hope, and then I've left some things for Gabriella has kindly offered to post them back for me, because I have been gathering some more of her beautiful fabrics for a particular reason. But I don't, in the end, I don't know which suitcase what is in. But I always like to bring my work with me in the tote of hope, so I know that my precious pieces, my pouches, etc., are with me. And as I said, I travelled with my nest and this piece, so very, very happy. But they all arrived, and so it will be tomorrow unpacking and trying to rearrange a little bit. Okay, so there we are. I'm just standing up to have a look at the garden as a whole. And if I bring it up to you, you can see it's just gradually, see the textures of those. I hope that's not too close. These French knots in here. And this is the one that needs just a last bit of attention before I finish, because it's just too starkly white. Got the green up there. If I just keep nibbling in with the colour. So I'm standing up, as I advise the ladies to, like, you can get perspective on your work, and often taking a photo really helps. So I'm looking at this area in here and seeing that would be the obvious part, leaving this white for the moment, because that's a lot to fill in, and probably I would paint that if I didn't want it to be white. But let's see. So I do want it to be, yeah, let's go with, I can show you how this stitches up. So this is quite fine. I'm not sure whether it's an, I don't want to mix you up. It's either an 8 or a 10 pearl. But the sheen on them is what I really enjoy. And in this particular one, there's lots of variations. See, this first stitch is coming out pale pink, and you watch what happens by the time we get round. I have had a few questions on the comments that I haven't answered yet. I'll have to just reread them and in my next video try and give you the answers. And I do love the contrast of that shine against the wool and then the flat fluoro. Starting to change colour. Now some people will sort of do one stitch here and one stitch there to even the colours out. I do that sometimes, but I tend to just let it come, because I sort of like that if it's in clumps, it looks like different petals. So I'm just following the shape of the design. And this is why this fabric is just a great way to start a garden. So many of us, and I was talking to ladies, you know, we don't have, like I took vintage Sanderson down, and we had access to that, but it's getting harder and harder to find vintage fabrics, and they're getting more and more expensive. So I really like the idea of having readily accessible, sorry, a bit of a tongue twister there, fabrics. We've talked about quilting fabrics, and Gabriella uses these, has previously used them a lot in quilts. And now I'm spreading the word about how great it is to use them in this sort of work. So we've got the pale pink, deeper, a dark, and now this petal up here. We've still got threads, so, but because it's longer, I'll do some sort of stem stitch down the petal. I've gone quiet. It's just I love stitching so much. And look at the magic happening. Hang on, I'll just finish this and then I'll show you, and then it will be over and out until next time. Oops, still got a little bit. Go down here. How much you get out of a thread. Okay, I think that will do it. So there we are. She already looks happier, this flower. So there's the variegator, and you can just see the effectiveness of little bits in variation of pinkness, but even from a distance. So I think I'll do, you're probably thinking, will I do all those little bits like that? No, I won't, but I'll do some here, and then I'll do wool in between. So I'm not sure when you'll see this work again, but I hope that's given you just a little insight into what you can make at a one flower at a time workshop. Always different. I always use different fabrics, and with different people have different preferences, but the idea is still the same, that we are gardening, we're just choosing flowers that we love and putting them together in new ways. Oh my gosh, I've got all of that to go as well. So to be continued. Thank you so much for being with me. Take care, and I'll see you again soon from my nest. This is Kate saying bye.